Hey, how's it going? Let's talk about basic shapes in Adobe Illustrator, shall we? This is an old lecture. I dusted off from an old classroom in a book. But it still works, and it's kind of fun to draw. And it teaches you, some of the more precise ways of drawing with shapes. We all know, here's the, rectangle tool. We know how to draw these shapes, you know what I'm saying? And, we can pretty much intuitively figure out how to draw with these. I'm drawing with that pink gradient for some reason. Right? But we're going to take a look at some more precise ways of drawing with them. It might help you in certain situations. So in this layout, and I'll have this Illustrator file available to you, lesson 2. I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to zoom into a particular area here. In fact, I created a view earlier. I don't know if you realize this, but you can create views. Like if you zoom into certain areas of the image, like you can create a new view. You see that? Right? And I've already done that. I've created a view when I zoomed in just on the pencil in my drawing area here. And by the way, if you hit Command 0, it zooms to fit the entire page on screen. So if you're doing something where you need to zoom into a particular area a lot, you could always, create a new view of that, right? Type in your description of it, and it'll go right to it. So that's kind of a nifty thing. So I'm going to go to the pencil view here. Now, if you're drawing with some precision with these basic shapes, if you come over here to the Properties panel on the right-hand side, like if you've got the Selection tool active, right? And by the way, the shortcut for the Selection tool is the V key on the keyboard, right? So if I'm drawing along, I hit the M key to get the rectangle tool, M for rectangle. That one doesn't make much sense, right? But if I've got that tool and I want to quickly switch to the Selection tool, I can hit the V key on the keyboard. Remember that. That's important. Now, with that Selection tool active, I can come over to the Properties panel, and I can toggle the rulers on and off here under Ruler and Grids. I can turn on the grid, like view the grid. This can be really important if you're trying to draw with some precision. Then you can also toggle the transparency. Like if you see that checkerboard, it's like letting you know what's transparent and what's not. Now, oh goodness, my email is beeping at me. All right, so I'm going to hit the M key again to switch back to the rectangle tool. And I'm going to draw a rectangle this time with some precision. And you can see I've got my little guide here for what I'm drawing. I'm going to go to the upper left corner of that larger rectangle, and I'm going to click once. When you click, you get this dialog box that will ask you for dimensions, right? And so this rectangle, we're going to make it 3/4 of an inch wide, 0.75, and we're going to make it 1 inch high. Click OK, and there's my simple rectangle. Pretty cool, huh? All right, next we're going to draw another rectangle inside this one, and I still have the rectangle tool selected. I'm going to go to the center of that And I just realized that I didn't have the bounding box turned on. If you want to be able to work without the the corner handles and side handles getting in your way, you can turn off the bounding box, right? And that's under the View menu here. You can scroll down and find Hide Bounding Box, but the shortcut is Command-Shift-B. That'll turn on and off the bounding box. Command-Shift-B or Control-Shift-B on a PC. All right, so normally it's on, and they're really handy. But sometimes they'll get in the way, and that's why you might want to turn them off when you're drawing with precision. All right, so I'm going to hold down the Command key or the Control key temporarily. See, I've got the rectangle tool selected, but if I hold down the Command key or Control key on a PC, I can click off of that rectangle to deselect it, right? That's really important. So if you're drawing along and you want to deselect something, hold down Command and click off of it. All right, so I'm going to draw another rectangle from the center here. And if you look closely, when you're right over the center of an existing object, those guides will come up. Those little magenta lines. In this case, it's going to tell me when I'm over the center of that object. You can see that, right? So I'm right over the middle of that previous rectangle that I drew. Now, I'm going to click and drag to start drawing a new rectangle, but it's doing it from the corner, right? Normally when you're drawing with these tools, they draw from the one corner to the other. This time, however, if I start here, if I hold on the Option or Alt key as I'm drawing one of these shapes, it'll draw from the center out. All right, cool. There you go. So Option Alt draws from the center instead of from the corner. Now, I'm going to draw the eraser, right? Up above here, I need to draw a rounded rectangle. And, you can round a regular rectangle. If you draw a regular rectangle like these, you've got these little widgets in the corner. And if you click and drag, you can round an existing regular rectangle. But I want to point out that there is also a rounded rectangle tool over here in the toolbox. I can grab that. And I'm just going to come over here and click once. This time I'm going to make my rectangle a little bit wider, 0.85 inches wide. And I'm going to change the height to, what is it supposed to be? No, I'm wrong. I'm drawing the wrong thing. I'm just thinking about the bands instead of the eraser. Sorry, the eraser is 0.75 inches wide, just like the regular part of the pencil. 0.75 for both of these. And I'm going to set the corner radius to 0.2. All right. And of course, that corner radius, depending on how rounded you want it to be, the higher the number, the more rounded it'll be. There we go. All right, so once again, I'm holding down the Command key, and I can move this rounded rectangle in place. And if I use those smart guides, they'll help me get it right in place there. Okay, and this may be one of those times where it might be handy to turn that bounding box off. Command-Shift-B or Control-Shift-B on a PC. In fact, I'm gonna zoom in here. Remember, like Command plus will zoom in. Maybe help you guys see a little better. Okay, so if I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, maybe it's not perfect, I might zoom in here and turn the bounding box off, and I can really get things squared away. All right, so just by grabbing the bottom edge of that rounded rectangle, I can really kind of get it positioned right where I want it. You can also, if you're worried about it, you can hit Command Y, and that allows you to see with more precision exactly where things are at. So if you really are persnickety about getting things placed just right, I just nudged it a little bit with my arrow, right? You can nudge left and right. So get it, you know, get it lined up as best you can. All right, so again, that's Command Y to enter that outline mode so you can see things with more precision. Okay, so now we've got our eraser in place. Let's make these two metal bands that hold the eraser on the pencil. Again, with the rounded rectangle, I'm going to click once. This time I'm going to make it a little wider, 0.85. I forget how. This one I think is like 0.1. Okay. And this time the corner radius, because it's a smaller piece, it needs to be smaller, so 0.05 for the corner radius there. Click OK. There we go. That's about right. Okay, now once again, I've got the bounding box turned off, and I'm going to hold down the Command key. Remember that Command key allows you to quickly access the Move tool, the Selection tool. I can select that and drag it over here. I want you to notice, like I'm aiming for the corner of the pencil here. So if I grab this anchor point, that's what those are made, like these paths are made up of anchor points and the paths in between those anchor points. Grab that anchor point, drag it over here, and line it right up. Okay. All right, now I'm going to duplicate this thing now. I'm going to hold down the Command key once again to get access to the Selection tool. And now the Option or Alt key, that's the key that copies stuff. Oops. Right, so if I hold down Command and Option, I can click on that, drag it straight up. In fact, if I hold down Shift also, I can drag it straight up until it's right over the top of the other one. So again, we're drawing with some precision here. All right. Yeah, remember the Shift key is the key of perfection. It'll draw, perfect squares and circles. It'll also move things in a perfectly straight line. The Option or Alt key duplicates if you click and drag with it. And the Command key allows you to access the Selection tool very quickly. All right. So let me zoom back out here again to my pencil view. So we got the top half drawn. Let's draw with the Polygon tool next. Now that Polygon tool right here, normally it draws a hexagon. I'm not sure what the last one I used was, but I'm gonna draw my triangle with the Polygon tool. Triangles, it's a three-sided polygon, right? So I'm going to draw from the center of my pencil again here. I'm going to click and drag. See, I was using a triangle last, so let me do this. I'm going to, this is what it normally defaults to, is this hexagon. So if you see here, if I click and drag, it draws from the center out. Polygons draw from the center out automatically. So that's why I aimed for the center of the pencil. All right, now check this. I'm gonna go, and while I'm drawing, I haven't let go of the mouse yet. I can hit the down arrow key a couple of times until I've got three sides. And then, and I'm going to hold the Shift key down because that's going to make it perfectly vertical, right? Like the base is going to be perfectly aligned to the grid. I'm going to come right to the edge of the pencil, like so. Okay, now I need to flip this thing over because it's facing the wrong direction, right? Because when you draw a triangle, if you want it to be perfectly level, you have to hold the Shift key down. And so now what I'm going to do is flip it. Now, if you look over here in the Properties panel, there are a couple of buttons here under the Transform settings. All sorts of stuff that you can do here. You can rotate and size and position, but you can also flip things very quickly. See that? Very handy. Another way you can do this is to actually get the Reflect tool, which is the shortcut for that is the O key on the keyboard. And let me set this back to what you guys might be seeing. Okay. You may be using the basic toolbar, and the way that you change that, there's little 3 points down here at the bottom of the toolbar. You can edit it and go to the menu here and choose Advanced or Basic. Probably going to want to maybe start with Basic, but it won't be long before you want to have that Advanced option open. Okay, so oops. Now I've done it. If you lose something, look for it in the window menu. Right, here we go. So I accidentally screwed up and lost my toolbar. All these panels around the interface, if you go to the window menu, that's where you'll find them. Right, so I went to Windows, Toolbars, and opened it back up. Okay. Now, I'm trying to reflect this. So if you look for these transform tools like rotate and scale, etc., are all going to be right here in the toolbar. One of them is reflect, and the shortcut for it is O. Right? So check this out. If I wanted to flip this triangle from the bottom edge, I could, using that reflect tool, hold down the Option key and click the bottom edge. In fact, here, let me zoom in again so you can see this a little more clearly. Option, click the bottom, and it flips from that point, right? It reflects from that point. Okay, and again, I'm using a horizontal reflection. All right, there we go. And now I can get the selection tool, and I'm going to hold the Shift key down and drag it straight down until it lines up with the bottom of the pencil. Okay, now one thing that you need to remember, when you've zoomed in close like this and you want to move yourself around, you can hold down the space bar. That gives you the pan tool, and you can click and move yourself around so you can see what you want to a little better. All right. Okay, now check this out. We need to make the tip of the pencil here, the lead. So once again, I'm going to use one of these transform tools. This time I'm going to switch to the scale tool. Shortcut for that is S. All right. See it? And this time I'm going to scale it from the bottom point here. And again, Option or Alt click the point of reference. See that? Now it's going to make a it's going to preview it for you and make, in this case, I've got it set to reduce by a scale of 30%, down to 30% of the original, right? And you can scale things non-uniform, but like normally you're scaling it, it's going to be the same basic shape, so you want to use a uniform increase or decrease of scale. All right, so now check, this is really nice. If you're transforming using the tools like this, you can copy it. So I don't want to get rid of my original triangle. I want to make a copy of it at a smaller size. So I've reduced it by 30% down to 30% of the original, and now I'm going to copy it. See that? Pretty cool, huh? All right. So now we're going to draw a piece of paper. I'm going to zoom out. Command 0 zooms out. So we're going to draw this piece of paper here, this like fancy stationery that the pencil is drawing on, writing on. And once again, we're just going to get the rectangle tool. M is the shortcut for the regular rectangle tool. And I'm going to start at the tip of the pencil here. In fact, here, I think I've got another view I saved. Yeah, there we go. So if I want to kind of center it here, I can click once. And this one is 2 1/4 inches wide. I just copy that and Command V, paste it into the height. Oh, I forgot, it didn't draw from the center. Well, that's easy enough to fix. I'm just going to grab the center point here and drag it to the center of my pencil. All right. Now, in a second here, I'm going to move this beneath the pencil, right? Right now it's in front. More about arrangement in a second here. But while I'm at it, I'm going to copy this rectangle and make a smaller version on the interior. And this is a new way of duplicating that I want you to know about. Command C will copy, right? And if you hit Command V, it'll paste, right? But it'll offset that paste. What I want to do instead is paste it right over the top of the original. And the shortcut for that is Command F, which pastes that object right in front of the original. See that? There's 2 of them now. All right, so Command F will paste in front, like right in front of the original. Okay, and look, let's go over here to our Properties panel again. And this time, instead of 2 1/4 for our copied version, we're going to make it 1 1/2 inches. And you'll notice the link is on here between these 2 dimensions. If I change one, it'll change the other one proportionally if that is turned on. So I'm just going to type 1.5 inches for the width and hit the return key, and it'll make the other dimension reduce proportionally. Okay, so now I got my 2 rectangles that make this up. I'm going to shift click them, right? If you click one and shift click the other, they'll both be selected. Of course, I still have the bounding box turned off. What's the shortcut for that? Command Shift B. Now I can see. It's helpful if you can see the bounding box. Okay, so now that I've got that group selected here, well, it's not grouped, they're just both selected at the moment. You can rotate this. If you come to a bounding box right to the corner, you'll get that rotate symbol. Of course, you could use the rotate tool, or you could rotate it over here in the properties, like 45 degrees. What I'm going to do is bring my cursor over to the corner, click and drag. If you hold Shift down, it'll rotate more precisely. In this case, it'll give me that 45-degree rotation. All right, so now they're still in front of the pencil, right? If you go to the Object menu, you can arrange things, right? And in this case, I want to send this thing. You can send it backward 1 step, right? Object, arrange, or you can send it all the way to the back, so the whole thing is behind. Now, the shortcut for doing this is Command and the bracket keys. If you hit Command with the bracket keys, you can move things up and down in the layer order and arrange them very quickly. So I would remember that shortcut, but I'm going to leave it behind there for now. Okay, so I know this has been a bit of a marathon. I'm about to wrap it up, so thank you for your patience. Last couple of things here, like these, shapes. You know, again, polygons. You can draw multiple sided polygons here. And then there's the star tool, right? And you know how to draw a circle already, so I'm not going to bother with that. But if I draw a star, right, as I'm drawing it, in fact, again, let me zoom in here. Command and the plus key. As I'm drawing this, and by the way, if you hold the spacebar down while you're drawing anything, you can reposition it. Right? If I hit the arrow up key, down key, I can change the number of sides. Okay. Let's put one here. Again, the star draws from the center out. I can make a four-sided star if I want. Hold the spacebar down to move yourself around. My star tool. Hit that up arrow. Get as many sides as I want. Zoom out a bit here. Okay, spirals. Just real quick, if you're in the basic toolbar set, you're not going to see the spiral tool, right? It's not going to be here. But if you want to add it, you can come down here and kind of specify what tools you're using. So here's the spiral tool. If you click the Edit Toolbar button down here, you can add the spiral tool. To your toolbar, wherever you want. It makes sense to put it near the other shapes. There you go. And while we're at it, I can add the grid tool. Oops, no. Why are you doing that? Add the grid tool to the toolbar here too. So, with that spiral tool, oops. Stop editing. There. Oop. I still have the star. Get the spiral. There we go. Groovy. And of course, L is the shortcut for the ellipse tool. I can draw a circle over here. All right, so that last little bit here is the grid tool. You saw I added the grid. This allows you to draw a grid. And in fact, again, the arrow tools allow you to adjust how many squares you get in your grid. All right. And if I look at, near it as I'm drawing, it gives me the dimensions, right? And I'm holding down the Shift key. Oh, I'm running out of space. Let me use the space bar. I need to get it exactly 1.5 inches, because that's how large that interior is. And I'll rotate it also. And I can use the arrow keys to nudge it in place. And it needs to go back. Command Shift and the left bracket key will send it all the way to back, and then Command and the right bracket key will move it up. There we go. It just needs to be behind the pencil, but in front of the other shapes. All right. There you have it. So some of the basic drawing tools. Go practice. Open this file up and try it yourself. All right. Good luck.